we're ready. Let's hit the crossfade on OBS. And indeed, here we are. So, or here I am. There you are. Hold on, let me turn down the music. And I'm kind of playing with my video settings here. I know you all don't care that much, but I like to get the the chroma key looking right, and it's okay. I switched to a different webcam this morning, just to see if this one would be any different, and it kind of is. Like the lens is a little bit of a different shape, I think. So my head shape looks different, or I feel like it does. I don't know. It's not a big deal. But I also, this one, like the saturation is harder to get right. I looked super pink when I first turned it on, and I'm not, I'm pretty normal. Okay, anyway, so good morning, welcome to class. I got a lot of things I want to cover today, so I'm going to share a slideshow. I mean, you can see it here, but I'm going to copy the link, put it in both the Discord and Twitch. This is mostly to let me kind of organize the things I want to say to you, and also when I watch the video later and add the timestamps, it'll help me navigate that too, because I'll be able to see when I switch to different slides. So that's the idea. Check it out. And thanks for saying good morning in the chat on Twitch. It's always good to see who's out there. I see I have 6 viewers on the dashboard, which is great, but it's nice to see that you have names. So thanks for saying good morning, Chosen Clown and MH Finn and Meow Morning Paw. I don't know what that name is a reference to, but my kids are kind of obsessed with the what is it, the cat thing, Warriors, and they often give each other names kind of like that and talk in that kind of way. I don't know if that's a Warriors reference. Anyway, doesn't matter. Today's week 1, day 3, and yeah, I don't know if I'm going to even put this full screen. It doesn't really matter. These are the things that I want to try to accomplish today, or help you accomplish. Like these are kind of my goals to cover these things, but your goal is to accomplish these things, which is to secure, customize, and get to know your WordPress installation. You probably started that yesterday, or I hope you did. I was helping a lot of people last night work on that. So that's kind of the main thing. If you haven't done it yet, that's probably the first thing you should work on. The next thing is to take a look at Vannevar Bush's essay, As We May Think. I'll say a bit more about that in a little bit. So okay, maybe it's a subliminal influence, Morning Paw. Yeah. Cool. So then I also want to contribute to and talk about a document called a Code of Conduct, Terms of Use / Code of Conduct for the class. And it's a collaborative document, but it's something that we're going to, so it is something that I really want your input on, and I want to share that with you and give you a chance to contribute to it. And then finally, getting started on your first module. It's a lot of stuff to cover today. But as I was telling someone last night, essentially the way that this class is compressed, each day of this class is kind of like a week of a normal fall to spring class. So, we try to cover as much as possible, and to the extent that we can, give you the same learning experience outcome, as that 15-week class. But, that said, I don't cover everything that I do in the 15-week class, but, try to get as close as I can. So that means that, we do cover a lot every day. One thing I wanted to just kind of spend a little bit of time with here is something I didn't really do much of yet, because I think I just sort of jumped right into the how of making your domain and didn't really spend a lot of time on the why. And a couple people had some thoughts on this already in the Discord, which is great. Just a couple of thoughts. I don't take for granted that you've had a website before, or that you've ever really thought that much about having a website. You may not, see it as an important thing for your life right now. It might not be something that you want to do, or that you didn't think you wanted to do. My hope is that you will, by the time you've learned how to use it and seen how it's going to be used in this class, my hope is that you will appreciate it more, and that you will, embrace the opportunity of having a website. One of the goals of that first essay I asked you to read by Audrey Waters is to kind of get across this idea that this thing that we give you here at UMW, this domain, is a really significant investment in your digital future, basically. And it's something that I don't know if every student takes advantage of that. I don't know if they understand the power that we are giving you when we give you a domain. Having a domain means that you get to control what you put on the web, and you know, sometimes it is hard to convince students that that's a thing you should care about. But think about all of the different ways other people, institutions, companies have decided what about you goes on the web, like what you are to the web. So if you have a Facebook profile, if you have, and maybe you don't, maybe you use other things, that's fine, of course. But I mean, the fact that you're using Canvas already means that you are contributing a lot of information to this company, in Structure, which owns Canvas, and they have this idea of you, they have this profile on you, and they kind of know, or they think they know these things about you, and you don't have much control over that. You didn't have a chance to do that or not do that. But you have a domain, and this domain means that you are in control of what goes on that domain. I mean, I'm asking you to put some things there for this class, but that's really just to kind of give you a sense of how it works. Ultimately, if you choose not to, if you decide that there's something that you need to do for an assignment, but you really don't want to put it on your domain, this is fine. This is okay. This is always an option, right? The main advantage of having a domain, just practically, is that it makes it very easy for you to create some content and then share it with someone else, right? So you can share it with me, you can share it with your friends, you can just have it in an archive there for you to access and find later. And so practically speaking, it's good to have a website. It's good to have these things there. But you should always think about what that accomplishes, right? If you put something out in the public, people are going to read it. They might like it, they might not. You might not want to have that choice. You might not want to take the risk of people not liking something you put out, and you might want to delete it later, or you might want to just decide not to publish it, right? The main point of the main big picture idea that I want you to get here is that having a domain, it can be very valuable intellectually, philosophically. It can be very useful practically, but ultimately, I hope that it gives you a chance to think about that line between public and private, like the line between what you choose to keep to yourself and what you choose to share with the world. And the great thing about having a domain is that you are in control of that line. You're in control of what goes on which side of that line, whereas in other places, in other contexts, most other contexts, you are not in control of that. So that's a little bit of a rant, but I hope it makes sense. Even if that doesn't make sense, humor me. Go with it for this term and see how it feels by the end. Now, I wanted to also say just about the websites. A lot of you were asking for help last night. That is great. Please do that. Sometimes I don't know why students will ask me a bunch of questions, and then they'll say, "I'm sorry, I'm asking you questions." No, don't. I want you to ask questions. If you're not asking questions, that's when I worry. But if you are asking questions, that's great. That means you're trying to figure something out. And figuring something out that's what we're doing here. That's the point. So please ask questions. Always ask questions. Anytime. Don't worry about late at night. I was up answering questions after midnight last night, I think. It's fine. I don't care. I mean, if I'm up, I'll answer questions. If I'm not, I'll get to it later. No big deal. Just put it out there, right? That's the idea. Okay, so rant over. Let's move on. Securing, customizing. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, rant not over yet. Yes. No. We'll go here. So this is typo. This is what I wanted you to do today or work on soon. And these, I will actually show you how to do some of these things. If you go back to, let's see, is this today's? No. Let's go to day 2. So if you go here, this is the video that I broadcast yesterday, and then I put it on YouTube. And I wanted to show you this just so you know that it exists. When you look at this on YouTube, all these timestamps down here will show you how to get to the different topics that I covered. So if you're trying to figure out how to create a subdomain, you can click on that and you can jump right to that timestamp. I'll do that for this video as well. But just FYI. Also, I put this graphic from the slideshow yesterday into the notes from yesterday. So if you need to refer to it, I hope it's pretty helpful. It's labeled certainly. So at least if I say subdomain, you can, and you're like, what was that? You can refer to this graphic, and this part right here. That's what I mean when I say subdomain. I think one of the biggest challenges as you're getting started with this stuff isn't really technological, it's terminological, because I'm throwing all this vocabulary at you that you may not have ever seen before, and so trying to figure out how to explain, when you have a problem, figuring out how to explain the problem is a big challenge, but it's okay, we'll figure it out. But that's what it really means to learn these things, and also once you have the right terminology, that helps you Google for it better and get the answer too. Okay, so let's take a look at these things, and I should have logged in already, but I didn't, so bear with me as I log in. The bird cam isn't working today, and I don't know why. Sometimes that's just how it goes. It's not an authentication error. That's the right one. Yeah, the bird cam. I mean, it's on the ground right now, but it's I don't know why. Sometimes it doesn't work, and I don't know if it's the camera not sending a signal or if it's the USB cord. I mean, my OBS detects it. It says, "Oh yeah, here's a camera," but it does not have any imagery from it. So I don't know why. Okay, so this is the subdomain and WordPress installation that I created yesterday in the live stream. So this I'm going to do a couple more things to it here, just to show you a couple, like those 3 things that I recommend here on the slide. I mean, there are lots of other things you can do, and I did mention several other things in the notes, but these three things you should really do, right? These are very, very strong recommendations on my part. So let me show you how to do these things. First of all, let's take a look at the plugins. And you remember Akismet I mentioned the other day is it will block comments from being posted. Like, it'll block spam comments. So you should activate this. So you have to activate the plugin like I've done here, and then you also have to set it up. So let's set it up here this way. Let's see. All right, they've changed this a bit. So let's see. Oh no, this is the same. Okay, so this is something that sometimes people, get confused about. You can definitely pay for this if you'd like, or you can slide it down to 0 and not pay anything, and that's fine. Now, I've already got an account, so why is it? How do I log into my account? Maybe it's down here. Yeah, okay. By the way, you can see my password manager there. This is a unrelated recommendation, but if you aren't already using a password manager, you should. I like Dashlane okay. I used to use LastPass, but Dashlane has been working pretty well for me. You want to let it remember your password so you don't have to. Okay, so what I just did, I'm kind of doing this a little quickly because I don't want to put this on the stream for too long, my API key. But that's the imagery there that's the, it's like a secret password that Akismet needs in order to work. So Akismet needs to connect to its external servers, and this little password here gives it that permission. Okay, so that's good enough for now. Let me add the WordFence plugin as well. I've got Jetpack here, but I'm not going to activate it at the moment because it takes a while. Well, I don't know if it takes a while, but it's, it's kind of big. Did I already install WordFence yesterday? I don't remember. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so let me activate it. And this one I think is just a one-step activation. This just adds more security to your website. Oh, there it is. Okay, so okay, good. So I have successfully installed. Okay. I guess I'll give it my email address. No. Okay, so that should be good. No thanks. All right, so that's the free version. It was asking me if I wanted to upgrade to the premium version, and I do not. So that should be good. I mean, basically, it'll work fine out of the box, but you can customize different things about it, and it can get pretty wonky. It doesn't matter. So anyway, the final thing I wanted to show you, which is kind of it's kind of counterintuitive. Like it's more steps than you would think it would be, and that is I want to disable comments entirely. Like I want to see if I can prevent anyone from leaving comments, and this is actually one of the suggestions that they have here. So I wonder if this link to so it takes you to the place where you can disable comments, but you kind of have to know what to do here. Comments on your website, right? I mean, sometimes maybe you want people to comment, sometimes you don't. You can always turn it back on later or turn comments on individually for specific posts if you really want that. I really don't recommend it. I think if you want to have people giving you feedback on what you put on your website, put a contact form or something so they can send you a message directly. You have no obligation to be a platform for anyone else. So if someone, posts something that's annoying on your website, you have to deal with it. But you have no obligation to keep it there. So, just avoid that question entirely by just not letting people submit comments. So what we can do here is uncheck this box that says allow people to submit comments on new posts. Also, I don't care for any of these settings personally, but this is going to apply to future posts, and any future posts that you create will not have comments on them. So really, all of these comment settings are moot because you won't have any comments. That said, this only applies to new posts. So things that already exist, like your about page and your Hello World post when you first install it, those will have comments enabled on them already. I wish WordPress made this easier, but it doesn't for some reason. So you do have to go into anything that already existed when you first created the website and disable comments individually on those. And it's probably just this one post and the About Me page, but you should definitely do both of those things. It is down here on the bottom right where it says discussion, and then you've got to uncheck both of those boxes. Now for any future posts that you create, they will automatically be unchecked. But for this one, you have to do it that way. I don't know why WordPress decided to do that, but that's how it's been for years. Okay, so those are 3 very important things that you should do on your WordPress installation as soon as you can. Okay, so moving on, and as always, if you have questions, please ask. But I am going to move kind of quickly because this is being recorded, and I think most of you are probably watching these after the fact, so that's fine. But I'm going to move quickly, and then you can navigate it with the timestamps or whatever. But again, please ask a question if you're watching live, and I'm happy to try and answer it. Because if you have a question, that question may occur to someone else later on. But if you ask it now, then I will answer it now. So here's some homework. So this is an essay called "As We May Think" by Vannevar Bush, and it includes these 2 great illustrations that I have here on the slide. So I thought I'd put them on the slide here to really highlight them and make sure you see them, because sometimes, like in different web versions of this, they don't show up. But I want to talk about this essay a little bit, give you some background on it, and then invite you to read it, and then post some thoughts in Discord like we've been doing. So a discussion post there. I've created a new channel called "As We May Think" under the discussions category, so that's what I'd like for you to use as you read and reflect and respond to this article. So this is the illustration that accompanied it at the top. This one on the left, where he has kind of this camera strapped to his forehead. I don't know if that's actually, that doesn't look like Vannevar Bush really, but it's like an illustration of a technological innovation that he imagines in this article. So he's coming up with, in this article, at least 2 specialized applications of technology that he thinks are a good idea. So this is 1945 when he's writing this article. It's an article published in the magazine The Atlantic, and Vannevar Bush is a scientist and engineer who works in the war effort, and so he has access to these kinds of technological things, and he has this idea for how we should use it. And this idea of the forehead camera, I think, is great. Obviously it didn't catch on, but what you can kind of see, you see obviously the camera is strapped to his forehead. It kind of looks like a GoPro, but this is 1945, so this is not a GoPro. This is a film camera, and you can sort of see on the glasses lens there's a kind of square, and then this little wire coming off the side is his controller. So he's like looking at things and then snapping a picture, looking at things, snapping a picture. This is a researcher in the field or in the library looking at documents and snapping pictures of whatever he's looking at. That's the idea. Kind of dorky, but I think it's kind of cool too. So the other thing over here is much more influential. This thing on the right is called a Memex, and the Memex is a device that Bush never created it, but he did create a patent for it, so he designed it. And people have built them over the years, I think, but they're not, they're more like museum pieces. They're not practical machines for doing intellectual work. But that's what the original idea was. And I wonder if I can get a bigger. Oh, there's a squirrel. You can't see it because the bird cam's off, but there's a squirrel hanging out. Let me see. I wonder if I can get it bigger. This one may have a bigger illustration of it, or may not. Let me see. Yeah, sometimes, when the Atlantic updates their website, they do different things with the presentation of it. Yeah, so this one doesn't have the illustrations at all. So I'm glad I included that. But so the idea is you've got 3 screens and then like a bunch of buttons on the right. And the basic operations of it involve microfilm or microfiche. And I actually got to use microfiche yesterday. Microfiche? I don't know. My wife and I debated how to pronounce that. I always say microfiche, but she said it's supposed to be microfiche. But I think she might have been messing with me. But anyway, these are like I needed to look at an article from a magazine from the 70s yesterday, and so I went to our library, and in the big cabinets of the microfiche, there's I don't know if I've ever used microfiche before, but there's these little, it's like an index card, but on that index card is the entire contents of a single issue of a magazine, and it's just very, very tiny, and so you have to slide it into the reader where you can blow it up and you can actually pan across and look for the page of the article that you're looking for. Really interesting, very physical, very analog technology, and that's what the Memex would have worked on if it existed, because the idea of like interactive computer displays did not exist. Computers existed, so, barely, but the idea of a real-time online computer that you can interact with and have things on the screen did not exist yet. That idea didn't even come around for another 10 years or so, and then the desktop that we take for granted was still decades away. So a couple decades. So this is very, very early, but it's an attempt by Vannevar Bush to start thinking through a particular problem. There's a problem that he thinks this computer will help, or this device will help solve. So as you read this essay, pay attention for that. So take a look and ask yourself, what is Bush trying to solve with this essay, with this Memex, right? So he's got this Memex idea. Why? Why does he think we need this? Why does he think this is a good idea? Also, just kind of read the part where he talks about how it would work. I think if you understand how it would work, I think it helps you get a sense of what it would be used for, or what problem it would potentially solve. And then ultimately, I think it's going to remind you of something. So what do you think? I mean, the big obvious comparison that a lot of people make is Wikipedia. So think about it in that sense. Like, how does this remind you of Wikipedia? Is it similar, different? What is it? In what ways is it similar? In what ways is it different? All right. So those are some kind of reading questions as you read. A couple of bigger questions. These are kind of discussion questions where it would be easier to kind of have a initial statement and then some follow-up, and then we can proceed from there. We'll kind of do that in Discord if we can, but this is a bigger kind of reading closely kind of question. Like, who is the Memex for? So the first question is, like, what is it for? Second question is who? Who is the person using this Memex in his imaginary future? All right, and then I think you will probably notice that. I think you will probably be able to figure that out. And then if that is the case, then what does that lead us to think about other things like Memex? Like, if we think Wikipedia is similar to Memex, does Wikipedia have some of the same issues behind it and assumptions behind it as the Memex apparently does, as you can see in the evidence of this essay? Kind of a complicated way to say that, but we'll post some thoughts in Discord in that channel, and then we'll see what we can do with that. And then I'll come back and kind of revisit this tomorrow just to kind of give you my thoughts on it if I don't get it across in Discord very well. Okay, so that's homework. So the next bit here is the class code of conduct. So let's take a look at this. This is a Google Doc, and I invite you to visit this now. Let me go ahead and share the link again. So it's also linked in the slideshow. This is editable by anyone in the world. Maybe I shouldn't put that on the Twitch channel, but I'll put it. Yeah, we'll see. What's the worst that can happen? Actually, I don't want to imagine the worst that could happen. Okay, so there it is. So this is, I think it's a good opportunity for us to make a few things clear. And I say we, I'm using that inclusively on purpose because I want your thoughts on this too. I want you to have your thoughts about what the space means and this digital space that we're sharing together. The Discord, the Canvas, the Twitch, all these different platforms, the ways that we interact, right? We are a community, and as a community, we need to make sure that we agree to some shared values. Not everything, we won't agree on everything, but there are some things that we do need to agree. I think we do need to agree on in order to have a safe and productive space, for safe for all of us and productive as much as possible. So this comes down to avoiding like abusive and harassing language, of course. I hope I don't have to specify that, but that is the kind of thing that I hope is that I mean when I talk about having a safe space. But there's other things here. You can almost think of this almost as advice, really, down here in the code and the specific things that I've added. One of the things that I think is a bit harder to realize, and so that's why I spelled it out here, is avoiding the language of advice, avoiding the language of ease when giving advice. So this is something that I think we've already encountered a little bit, which is that okay, so like setting up a subdomain, I've done it hundreds of times. So for me, pretty easy, right? Like it's pretty easy for me to do. There is a risk that I've noticed in my patterns of speech, and I try to avoid, but I may not always avoid, where my sense of how easy it is comes across to you. In other words, you might say, I can't figure this out. And I might say, oh, it's easy. You just blah, 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 blah. And there is a problem with that. Whenever I say, oh, it's easy, you just blah, 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 blah. If you hear that, and then you have no idea what I say after that, like if you have no idea what I'm talking about, there's a risk that you can hear, oh, it's easy, and then attach that to, I can't do it, therefore there's something wrong with me. Like that means, because it's easy and I can't do this easy thing, that means I'm a failure. Everything's terrible. And that is not my intention. I don't intend to convey that sense at all. I don't want you to believe, I don't want you to feel that that's the case. The problem is really on me in that imaginary conversation. That was my fault for incorrectly giving you that assumption. So I always try to remember that you're coming to this with whatever you have. Like that's all I can ask as an instructor, and that's all you can offer as a student is like you start with wherever you are. And if you are creating a subdomain for the first time, it probably isn't easy, right? I mean, that's not an automatically easy thing to do. So of course it's going to be a little bit challenging, and that's okay. And I think you will be better served if I, as the instructor in that conversation, give you a chance to figure it out yourself, but also respect the struggle that you're having. Like that's a thing that's okay to have. I want to encourage that for you as well, for others, because we have different levels of experience in this class. You all have different levels of experience. You might figure out something first, or you might have already done it a bunch of times, and that's great. And I love when you all help each other. But just keep that in mind as well. Like try to avoid that language of ease, or saying, oh, it's easy, you just blah, 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 because that can come across as condescending, even if you don't mean to. Like even when you're trying to be helpful, it can come across and be received in a way that's harmful to someone else's learning experience. So just keep that in mind. That's what I mean when I'm talking about this language of ease bit here. So see what you think. I mean, you don't have to do this right now, but take a look at it and see if you can add a few points here. And I've put my initials after these 2 points because I added these. You can do that as well. I would like for you to do that as well, just to kind of keep track of who's adding what, so we can follow up if we need to. And then just hit here. Try to make each of these start with a verb if you can, to make it easier to have active language, and we can kind of think about what we're doing and what we're not doing, as opposed to kind of abstract principles. Okay, so that's the code of conduct. Please try to contribute to this today if you can. Although anytime this week, like anything else this week, it's all due Friday. So try to get this done by Friday, and that would be great. Okay, so I have one more big topic to cover today. I do feel like I'm covering a lot and moving pretty fast, but that's sort of how these things go. And actually, though, this last topic is almost the last thing for the week, because tomorrow we'll be more or less kind of picking up the pieces and filling in any gaps. I want to talk about the modules. I introduced these a bit a bit yesterday, and I wanted to give you a little bit more detail about like what you're actually going to be doing for each of these. I have some slides. So let me actually, you know what I'll do? I want to animate this. I don't know if you can hear my neighbor has I don't know what they are. I guess they're oh, that worked. I guess they're like I mean, they're not. I don't think they're parakeets. They look like parakeets, but I forget what they're called. But they're these little, you know, birds, and he puts them on the back porch during the day when it's a nice day like this, and they like to squawk pretty loudly sometimes. So I'm hearing them because my window's open. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I animate this, so I'm not gonna do that. Let me just kind of highlight these as I go. All right, so step one is for this module is choose which one you want to work on. And the choices I would like for you to choose from are Art of the Animated GIF, Creative Coding, Interactive Fiction, or Digital Audio. I gave you a brief introduction to each of those yesterday. I can do more if you'd like, but basically the information for those is all on, not Canvas, it's not on our Canvas course, it's actually over here on dgst101.net. And we do it this way because multiple people teach this class, but we all use dgst101.net as kind of the common frame of reference. Or I hope we do. I mean, I do. I certainly do. The only thing that you need to know as you look here is that, you know, this references a Slack channel. We're not using a Slack channel for this. Obviously, we're using Discord. So anywhere you see Slack, you should think Discord for my class. Okay, so each of these modules is a topic or a genre or I don't know what else to call it, theme area. I mean, they're fairly coherent, but they offer a lot of opportunities for exploration and discovery, and that's really what this is about, right? So one of the things that, you know, we started this class with building a website, making your domain, and you know, there are lots of things you have to do to get a domain running. Like, you just have to do these things. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So usually, but other than that, like when we're talking about the module work, you really are on your own to determine how complicated you want to make it, right? Because I want to recognize that you have different skill levels and backgrounds and interests, and I'm not asking you to reach a specific threshold for these modules. I'm not asking you that you make a certain number or quality of an animated GIF, or, you know, make 3 video games, or, you know, whatever. I'm not really looking at the artifact at all. I'm just interested in your process, and that process involves starting with wherever you are, whatever tools you have already, and then expanding on those as you work on some ideas for this module, right? So, you know, after pretty much everything else for this class is going to be structured in that way, where there's a lot of things for you to do and explore within a, you know, fairly narrow kind of range of things, and it's up to you to figure out what to do with that and how to be successful. Of course, I'll guide and help, but you're the one that's ultimately responsible for your success. So that's the kind of ethos behind these. Okay, so I could do, yeah. So Colin in Discord just asked a question: could you show how to upload the end product to your website? I can show you that if you'd like. It's a bit, well, it's not too involved. I guess it won't take too long. So yeah. I can show you how to put things on your website, yes. That said, however, I also want to kind of go back a little bit and say again that for these modules, you don't have to, it's not about the artifacts. Like, it's not about the game you produce or the podcast you make. It's about your learning process that goes into producing that. So you can still be very successful as a student. You can have a very successful learning experience even if your product does not exist at the end, even if you don't end up completing the product that you hoped you would, right? Sometimes having a really ambitious idea and then getting halfway to that idea is a better situation than getting, you know, something kind of, you know, smaller done quickly. I mean, you've got to decide for yourself. But really, don't, if you upload a Twine game, another way to put it is, like, if you are doing the interactive fiction module, I'm not grading your Twine game. I'm responding to your reflection on your learning process. Like, that's what we're doing. But that said, I do want you to share your Twine games. So, right, because that's the fun part. So let me show you how to do it. And this workflow will be kind of similar, really, for other things. Okay, so I'm going to use Twine Online. Like I've said before, this is probably not what you want to do. Oh, these are back. These weren't here yesterday. Huh, okay. So let's see. This is a demo I made demoing Twine. So this is obviously not a complete story, but it should kind of work. Let me show you how to get it onto your website. So you first need to go down here where it says publish the file. That's the last option in the story menu. And you won't see this on the stream because it's a little pop-up, but it is now creating a file for my computer called storytime.html. And you want to make sure that that file it downloads ends in .html. If you've got your computer set up to hide file extensions, then you won't see the HTML part of it, but it is there. So I'm just saving this into a folder that I can find it. So yeah, you can kind of see where it just now downloaded right there. It says storytime.html. So that's the file that I can share with you and you can see and play my story. But I need to do something else to actually share and play it. So let's say, let's put it into a blog post. So my Twine story. I didn't mean to type that. That's fine. Okay, so now this is going to be a little bit of me figuring this out as we go because I don't know if I've ever done this in the new editor. I wrote a Twine story. It's about something. You know, you should always have some, explanation of what something is. Don't just sort of drop it in here. All right, let's see if I can do. Is there a file? Yeah. Okay. So this will probably work. Click on File and then Upload. And I'm selecting storytime.html. You can't see the pop-up, but I'm selecting storytime.html. Huh, okay. That might work. I don't really want people to download it though. But I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. So let's see how it looks. Okay, well I guess that works. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, that's what you want. So it's still online. It says downloaded, but it's not actually downloaded. It's just playing in the browser, right? Or is this one different from this one? Okay, so like if you click the download button, that's a pop-up that downloads the file, or you can click it here to play it, but that's probably, I mean, that's the default behavior, and that's probably appropriate. So yeah, now I'm playing this, and you can see the URLs. As you can see, it's a complete URL. It's on my website, ends.html, so that's good. All right, so that's the link that I would send. That's the URL that I would send you to play my game. Right? So here's the game I just uploaded. I'm putting this in Discord in case you want to take a look at it. Obviously, there's not much to this game, but you can confirm that it exists. And that it's accessible. If it's not, please tell me because I would like to know. Okay, so I don't want to go into the other ones too much because I think they're actually very similar, right? I mean, if you're uploading a file, I guess if the one difference could be with animated GIFs. It depends on how you make animated GIFs, but if you do it on Giphy or Imager, it's probably easier to embed them than to upload them. And also, it's worth noting that sometimes, depending on how you create it, an animated GIF can actually be a very, very large file. So, I'll keep an eye out for that. If you do it that way and end up creating very, very large files, you could end up filling up your web space pretty quickly, actually. Because whenever you upload a media file in WordPress is like, hey, great, thanks for the media file. I'm going to go ahead and make 7 copies of it. And then if that file was 35 megabytes, suddenly you're almost out of space. So there are a couple of considerations there. But if you're using one of the online GIF creators, then they all usually have the option to embed, and that's usually better. Same with audio, although audio is not going to be as big of a file. All right, so let me go kind of back to the slide and kind of go through the process here a little bit more. I see Colin typing, so if you okay, yeah, so that malicious thing, that's the security thing. I think, I don't know what, I have to look into that, but the whole, so it's an HTTPS link, but the certificate is invalid. I have to look into that, I don't know why. Just doing that. I have a theory. I mean, like yours would probably be fine. It's the security server. I mean, it's the security certificate on our server, and it could just be because of how my account is set up in kind of a weird way that's not working. Which is like I have my account assigned to a domain that doesn't exist for, it's kind of a long story. But anyway, the point is, like it's okay. Anyway, so let's move on. The module structure. So these are the steps, and these are steps that are explained in more detail on the website. So take a look here. I mean, on Canvas. But this is them in a nutshell. First of all, review the choices. Second, write a short blog post explaining your choice and what you hope to learn and accomplish while you work on this. I say while you work on this, it's really going to be 2 days or so, but that's fine. And you should also, so write that post, put it on your blog, but also share that post in your Discord channel with the peers that are working on that with you. So I think you will find it interesting to see what other people are doing. People may have ideas that you haven't thought of, and you might, be inspired by that. So that's the idea. That's one reason to share those things. It also helps you stay a little bit accountable. So like if you say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and then Friday comes and you haven't done those things, and that gives you an opportunity to explain why you didn't do that, and that could be a good use of that final blog post. All right, so the next step after you've written that intro post is to actually work on the tasks. And as you'll see with each of these, there's a list of things you can try down here or down here. But these are suggestions; these are not requirements. But if you're not sure where to start, these are meant to be places for you to start. So that's the purpose. But yeah, try them out and see how it goes. As things progress, you should kind of update your peers in Discord. So like once you get your first interactive fiction done, you want some feedback on it, put it in the Discord, ask for feedback, ask for people to peer review it, to proofread it for you, things like that. That's a good use of that kind of peer space in there. And then finally, I would like for you to share a short video reflecting on your work. And I say short here, 60 to 90 seconds. These do not have to be well-produced videos. You do not have to appear on camera in these videos. But I do want you to speak, I do want you to like think through and explain your ideas yourself. So in the face-to-face class, I like to have students give presentations. And the reason for that is that when you are kind of forced to think about something like this and explain it to someone else, I think you learn it a lot better. I certainly find that topics that I teach, I learn a lot better when I teach them, because I have to kind of organize it in my mind in order to explain it to you, and that helps me know it better. And so that's why I'm asking for you to do this as well. So 60 to 90 seconds. I think you can upload video directly in our Discord. Yeah, it looks like you can. I don't know if there's a file size limit, but try that if and if nothing else. You can also put it on YouTube and just set it to be unlisted if you don't care for it to be out there in the world. Just make it unlisted, and then you can share it in Discord so we can see it, but no one else can see it. Ultimately, if there's something that you're really self-conscious about, or you don't want it to be even in Discord, I guess I would allow you to submit it directly to me. But this is meant to be not a video that you're I'm not the audience for this video. Your peers in the class are your audience for this. So you're telling other students what you did. Think about all the different modules that people are doing right now. If you're working on animated GIFs, there might be someone who chose interactive fiction, but they were curious about animated GIFs, and they would like to see what you did. They would like to hear about your work on animated GIFs because they did something different, and they want to see what your experience was like. So think about your peers as the audience. That's the main bit of advice there. And then finally, a blog post. So in terms of the things that you produce, really, there's three things. There's an initial blog post, there's a video, and then there's a final blog post. So as far as the artifacts, those are the things I'm going to be looking for. Submit in Canvas the final blog post. That's all you need to submit in Canvas. Everything else, I'll be able to find if you submit that one. That, I believe, is all I have to say about that for now, but of course, if you have questions, please ask. trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover today. I don't know if there is, so let's just kind of go back and review a few things. So it's week 1, day 3. Your first job, if you haven't done it, is to get to know your WordPress installation. Specifically, I really recommend WordFence, Akismet, and turning off comments altogether. Next, you should take a look at this essay, As We May Think by Vannevar Bush, and respond to it and think about it a bit in our Discord channel. Specifically, think through these questions, like what is the problem that this device is trying to solve? Then ultimately, who is this device for? You may notice something as you read the essay, and if you don't, then I will point it out to you in the live stream tomorrow. And then, then the code of conduct. This is a Google Doc where I'm inviting. Yes, that's a good one. LR has added that. Avoid stealing someone else's work. Yeah, totally. I mean, that almost invites a question too about like what constitutes theft, right? In digital context, we do a lot of derivative work and appropriative work and remixing and so on. And there is an ethics to that. Like there is a way to do that ethically, and there's a way to do that unethically. If you're not sure about it, then I'm certainly willing to advise about any particular situations. Definitely don't steal each other's work. And of course, calling it stealing, that implies the unethical sense of copying from someone else. But in a lot of other cases, like when we get to if you're doing creative coding, right? Like a lot of those are really remixing something else. So like Taroko Gorge is a poem by Nick Montfort, and if you want to make your own version of this, you and like he's actually said this explicitly here. You can do this. Like you can just copy and paste this code. This is his code that produces this poem, and then you can modify this code to make it your own poem. And in a way, you're taking his code, but Nick has said, please do this. So it's fine. And as you can see, lots of people have, including me. But this is, that's the ethical kind of appropriation. So that's a good thing. Maybe we should have a more robust conversation about that at some point. Anyway, finally, working on the first module. That's really the work that rounds out the week for you. And this will be the last new thing I'm introducing. So tomorrow there will not be any new homework or assignments introduced. Tomorrow we'll be just kind of filling in some gaps and covering whatever else is left. Okay, so it's a busy week, but it's always, it's going to be 5 busy weeks for this class, and that's how it goes. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up the live stream. Of course, I will put this on YouTube and put timestamps in for the different topics that I covered. So hopefully that will help you navigate it if you're watching this later. They'll be in the description down below. And I'll be online again, probably late tonight. So if you are working late tonight, feel free to say hi or ask for help. I will do office hours from 1 to 3 this afternoon in the Discord channel. But if you see me online in Discord, feel free to chat me up, because that means I'm online. And don't feel shy about asking questions. Please ask questions. I always want you to ask questions. Always. All right. Great. So I'm going to wrap this up. I actually have an outro scene set up here. Oh, what's happening? Oh, my outro video isn't working for some reason. That's okay. I'll switch to it anyway. Turn on some music, and I will wish you a good day. So thanks for watching. If you have questions, please let me know. And if you want to chat, please join me in office hours this afternoon from 1 to 3. That's it. Have a nice day.